Do you think it's safe to ask them?
Hear me, all you hosts gathered here.
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat shit.
Well, I think we're about ready. Quiet, everyone.
Filth are my politics. Filth is my life.
From the whispers of the damned, deep within the bowels of hell. Welcome to Astro Radio Z.
Frickin' frack.
This is what happens when you get old.
Yes. But when you're older, you can have alcoholic beverages.
Well, we've been able to have that for a long time now, Mark.
Yes, we have. Twice over. In fact.
Which, hey, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. Happy birthday to you as well.
Well, mine's coming up in a few days, so not yet, but I'll take that as a happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We are, as somebody out there would say, we are aging like fine wine, my friend.
We are aging like fine wine that's put in the back that the cork pops off of automatically on its own. So
I don't want to know about your bedroom problems.
I didn't know that until that happened to wine bottles till my wife worked in a winery. That bottle.
This is getting far more in depth about your guys' bedroom life. This is Pillow Talk with Mark the Movie Man.
When your cork pops early, don't worry, it's normal.
Over 40 years old, if your cork pops too early. Usually, I thought that was a young man's game.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I think it's a dry spell game, is what it is.
Oh my gosh, it's been 4 months. Come on, baby, cut me some slack. That's all you're gonna get. You're gonna have to wait another 4 months.
Same shit's gonna happen if I gotta wait 4 months.
I gotta train, baby.
Train. You know what they say? Practice makes perfect.
How well does that line work for you?
Oh, yeah. There's a reason why I occasionally sleep on the couch.
Listeners, this is what you've always wanted. We're going to get a breakdown of Mark the Movie Man's sex life here on Astro Radio Z. How do you feel about that, Mark?
What, we're breaking down my sex life? What? Well, I guess you could title it the same title as the movie that we were watching.
Wild Zero?
Wild Zero.
So you're getting no sex and it's wild.
It's wild.
So you're having fun on your own. Wouldn't that be titled The Onist?
The Onist. Me gusta.
I'm beautiful. At some point, we should do maybe a live commentary, like a riff on the Onist here.
Oh, I'd be down for that. It's been a while.
Dude, I'm trying to think who the last person was that I made endure the Onist.
Remember, that was like a requirement if you're gonna be on the crew. If you're gonna be on the crew of Hole in the Wall, everybody has to watch the Onist. That was like a requirement. Most directors, they have strict rules. Derek Carey, you sit down and watch this
with me, and I have to look at you in the eye while you watch it. I need to know that you're regular. I need to know what kind of a character you have.
Well, it wasn't awkward till you started quoting it while looking at me. So, yeah.
Onist, one of the greatest achievements of all mankind.
It's why film was invented.
Listeners, if you have no idea what we're talking about, if you go to Vimeo, I think it's on Vimeo, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was this joke series of retro styled pornos, and I say pornos with quotation marks.
Yeah.
About this guy that kind of looks like, you remember, and this is fresh in my mind because I showed my girlfriend, her kids, and my kids the Sexy Sax Man video.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The dude that walks around the mall playing Careless Whisper.
Yeah.
So it looks like if that guy was in a porno and it starts off and it looks like retro. Actually, doesn't it start off with a fake trailer of a guy jizzing everywhere that's called Total Cum?
Yeah. No, you think I mean, it's like a capital B in Bukkake, man. It's like
Total Cum.
You're like a fire hose.
Oh my God, that shit. Okay, this is bringing back so many memories. And then the movie proceeds with the guy from Careless, the Sexy Sax Man from the Careless Whisper YouTube video. He basically comes home, and the rest of this movie, which is supposed to be like one of these found footage gimmicks, like this was a lost porno for many years, and we found it and we're uploading it to Vimeo. It looks like a total 80s shot on video porno. This guy gets home, turns on a record, lights a few candles, and proceeds to rub himself like, he's getting things sexy. You expect a woman to show up at some point. Nope. This is called the Onist. He loves himself through this movie. So every single one of these vignettes, which are split up videos on Vimeo, ends with all of a sudden a quick cut after tons of him rubbing himself going, me gusta. Ooh, I'm sick. Ooh, I love me gusta. All of a sudden you get a quick shot of him just furiously masturbating, but you don't see his cock. It like cuts as it's starting to pan down to him. You just see his arm beating. It just cuts, and that's the end of the video.
Oh God!
Every one of these.
Yeah, you never get the payoff. You never get to see the payoff.
But it's all this huge elaborate setup, and as the videos go along, because I think there's like maybe 6 of them, 5 or 6 of them.
There's like 5, yeah.
They get shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
Because it's all of a sudden, it's no longer any of the romantic setup. Like one of them, I think, is him just going into a hot tub, and within seconds is him beating off in the hot tub.
Yep. Oh my God.
Oh, the fucking Onist. God damn, I love the Onist. You got to know. It's kind of like the blood test in The Thing. You got to know. I got to look you in the eye and ask you, dude, have you seen the Onist?
You just look at him and go, me gusta. And
if their hair stands up on end and jumps out at you, go away, because they have no idea. They're the alien. They're the thing. You don't want anything to do with those people.
No.
Which kind of is a little bit of what tonight's about. Like we had talked about the movie we're going to talk about tonight, Wild Zero, on the last episode. I think it had just kind of randomly come up as like a weird gonzo movie. And if there was any movie that I've ever wanted you to watch in your entire life, Mark, it was this one.
Oh man.
Had you ever heard of this movie before?
I have heard the title mentioned, but as far as what it was about or what it entailed, I had no clue. I went into this so cold.
Oh God, that is so awesome. That is so fucking awesome.
Wow.
So in 1999, when this Japanese rock and roll zombie movie came out, were you even remotely into these kind of movies?
No, I was not. I mean, I was just, I like kind of obscure films, but I was, this was not on my radar at all at any point. No.
Surprisingly, this was a big wide release when this came out. I remember when this came out because I was obsessed with this movie when it came out. Holy fuck. This week, because this episode came together very quickly, because you and I, as long as you want to do this, this is going to be a monthly thing.
Yeah.
If you don't want to tell us what to cover on this, we'll just pick out movies at random ourselves, which explains Wild Zero tonight. But this is one of those movies where at that time I was totally like balls deep into Japanese, like obscure Japanese cinema that was starting to come overseas, thanks to like trying to think, because I don't think Anchor Bay was really bringing any of this out. But I was also in 1999, I was living on the West Coast in Seattle, and we had Scarecrow Video.
Oh, okay.
And Scarecrow Video literally got fucking everything.
Yeah.
So I rented this thing, and god damn. This motherfucker blew my mind. It's exactly the kind of movie I wanted. I had lived for. I'm a huge fan of like the Cramps and the Ventures and garage, surf, rockabilly music. I don't play a ton of it on Astro Radio Z, but if you go back to the early days of Astro Radio Z, you'll hear it. It's there. I used to play a bunch of it, but the mixture of Guitar Wolf, which is at that time, Guitar Wolf was one of the hugest, real true garage rockabilly bands out of Japan.
Oh, okay.
Like those dudes, that's not like a fake movie band.
Okay,
that's a legit fucking band.
I was wondering because the way they were credited in the beginning of the film, they actually credited. I'm like, are they crediting the character names, or are they crediting because you had Drum Wolf and you had Guitar Wolf and Bass Wolf, I think it was.
Right.
And I'm like, but they didn't have like another name with them. So I was like, wait, are those real guys?
Yep, that's their stage names. That's their stage names. And unfortunately, they lived hard, fast, and short because they didn't. I'd have to look it up real quick. But I believe in the early to mid 2000s, they died. Like two of them died. I got to look it up here. What the actual, like when this all ended.
I've got it up now. Actually, they actually started in 87.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Bass Wolf passed away.
Yep. Bass Wolf passed away. They're still a band, but
2002, he passed away.
Guitar Wolf is still alive, but Bass Wolf died. Man, if you get a chance, definitely go check out them and one of their side project, Teen Generate. Great if you like super trashy sounding, like punk that sounds like you had a cassette player in the corner and you had turned your amps all the way the fuck up and it's just overdriving everything and it's just balls to the fucking wall screaming. That's Guitar Wolf. And this movie is basically like Guitar Wolf, the fucking movie.
It pretty much is. I'm glad you brought up punk because I'm watching this going, oh, this is definitely nestled in the heart of punk. The way this entire film plays out. It's so. I mean, I was digging it, but I'm just like, yeah, this is really. I mean, if people are wondering, they want like a visual representation of a style of punk. I think this film, at least to me, it defies. I'm like watching it going, This is visual punk right here, the way a lot of this plays out, the characters are, and just the gonzo batshit things that happen.
Absolutely. This is a youth culture movie through and through. This is not a movie for adults. This is a movie for your inner kid. This is a movie for when you're like 15 to 20 years old, where you still don't know much about the world. You're sure that you fucking got it by the balls and you're going to live fucking forever. And everybody over 20 years old is a fucking moron and just don't get it. And the only thing you need to believe in to get by in life is rock and roll. It's that simple.
That's right.
That's all it fucking matters. This is the Japanese version of Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah. Definitely. It had that vibe. What was interesting is while watching it, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I'm sure you are, but it reminded me of another film that had come out a year before, though I hadn't realized it existed till years later when a coworker gave me the soundtrack and said, you need to check out this film. And that was Six String Samurai.
Oh, sure. Oh, definitely.
This film really had that same vibe, that same energy, that same feel as Six String Samurai, because I'm watching it going, oh man, this would be a great double bill with that.
Did you ever see around the same time as well? I'm just checking to make sure of, it's just only a couple years later. Had you ever seen Electric Dragon 80,000 volts?
No. But just by that title alone, I want to.
That's another one of these fucking gonzo, kind of like in the wake of Tetsuo the Iron Man and Wild Zero, this mashing of cyberpunk and horror and rock and roll. Only the way that Japanese can do it. Only the way Japanese can do it, where there's no breath between anything that's going on. There's constant noise. The editing is so fucking fast. You have no idea how to process what's going on. It's screaming at you at all times. This was definitely an era of Japanese cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So do you want to say what the plot of Wild Zero is for the listeners that unfortunately have never seen this fucking amazing movie?
I can sure try. Okay, so at the core we have Ace, who is a devout fan of this band, and particularly the leader of the band, Guitar Wolf. And amidst one night while he is wanting to witness their concert and actually try to make a case to be part of this band, this is how much he loves them. On this same night, there's meteors hitting the earth that you soon find out are flying saucers. So while our number one fan is chasing after Guitar Wolf to meet up with them and also get in with them and possibly become a member of the band, there's a zombie outbreak from these spaceships and meteors that are falling, and we run across a cast of characters thanks to Ace, including a transgender love interest, a guy who runs around in Speedo tight shorts looking to take out Guitar Wolf
in a bowl wig,
in a bowl wig, looking kind of like a cross-dressing Mo from Three Stooges. And you have this band who are the ultimate badasses, who have wonderful powers, such as a magical whistle that you can hear from anywhere, because of course he's a Guitar Wolf person, but still. And he has a sword in his guitar, and let's not forget the pick of death, in which he can make it rain electronic picks to help take out the zombies. They also cross paths with a gun-dealing female who ends up joining this group because why not?
There's a reason and logic should be thrown straight out the window when you're watching Wild Zero.
Don't try to figure out motivation outside of what is presented to you. You see Ace loves Guitar Wolf. That's his sole motivation. That's all you need. That's all you get. Guitar Wolf and his band are the way they are. They are. Okay. The guy rides around in a badass motorcycle with a wolf type design on it. His two buddies ride around in a car that suddenly at one point sprouts Christmas lights. Out of nowhere. They have hairdos that look like they went to the hairstylist and said, make my hair look like Elvis.
Yeah, everyone has pompadours. If you're into rock and roll, you basically look like a greaser from the 50s.
Yes.
You wear sunglasses all hours of the day.
This film has it all. And it just presents it to you, just throws it at you and says, do with this as you will. Here, we're having fun, and you can make whatever you want out of it. There is actually what surprised me, as gonzo as it is, and as much stuff that is not explained, there is actually a bit of a linear story in here. So it's not completely random. But at the same time, your hand is not just getting not held. Your hand has been slapped away and cut off and replaced with a guitar. It just said, here you go. We made this. Here you go.
This comes from that time where it was still okay to try and do the slap dash, throw everything spaghetti at the wall kind of movie. This reminded me of kind of like that era of Greg Araki where he did Nowhere and the Doom Generation and some of Troma's movies and Takashi Miike.
Yeah.
Big time. Like that era where he did Ichi the Killer and Dead or Alive and all of that shit. That's like, take all of that shit and put it into a zombie apocalypse film and then toss in Rock and Roll High School. And you basically got this fucking movie.
Which is awesome. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, you get these guys, the Guitar Wolf and his band, who I love. These guys, their look, their attitude, everything, and just the wild characters they come across. You're just gonna be like, wow, okay, yeah, it's definitely in its own universe.
Well, this is one of the rare instances where all of the characters are one note, save for Ace and the love interest. Even the love interest maybe is a little one note, but Ace is probably the most, I hate even saying this, I think everyone in this movie is completely one note.
Yeah,
they are in a mold and they stay there and it works. Because there's just, if you put any depth into anything in this movie, there's no time for it. It's constantly moving to something else.
What actually kind of caught me off guard was just when we get to the love interest, how kind of threw in some progressiveness with it, which just threw me off kind of actually for this film, because I'm watching it going, okay, all right. And you knew it was coming, kind of a crying game type of moment with the love interest with Tobio. But we get Guitar Wolf in there going, rock and roll, man. Love doesn't have boundaries.
Love doesn't have boundaries, doesn't acknowledge gender. I forgot. I forgot
what the third part was, but I mean, it's like, wow. I'm like, I know it's 99, but still, I'm like sitting there going, okay, out of all this huge type of thing, I'm like, this is actually a little bit of a progressive, approach. And the way that part was actually handled with that character was really interesting to me. I'm like, here we have this just batshit crazy film, and in it, you have all these different like themes and mantras and philosophies, and then you get this, and you're just like, wow, I was actually impressed by it. That just was popped in there. Now, granted, folks, don't get the wrong impression. They don't go in too deep. There's a 30-second scene where Guitar Wolf basically slaps the shit out of the guy talking about rock and roll, how love just has no boundaries. There are no rules, and it doesn't matter what gender. And I'm just like, wow. And then he disappeared, and that was like Yeah, but still, it was.
Yeah, then we go back to people, digitally shooting humongous holes into zombies' heads.
I love the zombies. Oh, those are hilarious.
This movie really felt like that mid-90s era of Greg Araki. Like it had that same kind of homopositive attitude towards love and towards the people in it. There was none of the, usually, especially in the Japanese culture, none of those movies of that time were showing positive reinforcement for homosexual characters,
right?
Whatsoever. None that I had ever seen.
No, none that I remember either.
The same thing. I mean, Greg Araki was basically at that time the only one that I was seeing any genre work like this that was getting out there to the masses, that had any sort of message about transgender, about lesbianism, about gay love and relationships, even though, let's be honest, they were exploitive and done in a very, kind of culty way. But still, at a time where that just wasn't being shown whatsoever in the vast majority of the movies, super progressive, especially in this, because it comes out of fucking nowhere. Because the main character, Ace, who, as you had said, he worships Guitar Wolf. He is basically modeled his entire life and look after them. He's a groupie, follows them around constantly. Every single shot is him combing his pompadour back.
Yes.
All he cares about is looking cool and rock and roll. It's literally the only fucking thing that matters in his life. So he shows up, he shows up to this gig where Guitar Wolf just gets done playing, and he's bound and determined. He's gone into the bathroom. He's given himself a fucking pep talk. He's combed here 15 times and talked into the goddamn mirror, and he's going to go backstage and meet Guitar Wolf and tell them, how much he loves them and how much he wants to be one of them. And Guitar Wolf are backstage with the big bad of the movie, who, as you had said, is, the tighty whitey bowl cut cocaine addict. And Guitar Wolf gets caught in the middle of like a gun standoff because Guitar Wolf ain't having the abuse and exploitation, because obviously the bad guy runs a hooker ring and uses women as sex slaves and all this other shit. And Guitar Wolf ain't fucking having that shit, because that shit ain't rock and roll, baby. Nope. That's all that matters. And Ace shows up and basically throws the gun standoff off and saves Guitar Wolf from getting shot. Guitar Wolf, seeing this, Ace is on the ground, basically cuts his hand, both of their hands, and becomes rock and roll blood brothers from that point on, and gives him that fucking whistle so that anytime Ace is in trouble, he just whistles that, and Guitar Wolf will show up and help him out. And Guitar Wolf bounces. Ace, who's just like, this is like the pinnacle of his existence. Not only is he's met Guitar Wolf, he's a fucking rock and roll blood brother with him. He goes out on his motorcycle and he's, driving around, having a good old time, all high on life. And all of a sudden, this stupid fucking zombie outbreak happens, and he meets, at first, this super cute girl at this gas station, where there's another rogue group that are down on their luck and trying to hold up a gas station.
Hold up a gas station.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Mark.
With 2 knives. He just walks in with 2 knives and whips out the knives, or butterfly knives. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this kind of came out of nowhere. Okay.
Well, that's kind of the tone of everything, don't you think?
Yeah, everything in this film, it just comes out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong, but this group of folks, I'm like, how are these folks going to play in later? Which we revisit them a few times. But this guy tries to knock over a gas station with 2 butterfly knives. Our love interest passes out. there's two worker guys, and then Ace again saves the day unexpectedly to him, unexpectedly saving the day by busting in and knocking the guy over who drops his knives, and he realizes what a dumb idea this is, and they got to leave. So Ace saves the day again. And this group of guys, we come back to them later, though, the true love story of the film, I guess.
Well, they're kind of the centerpiece, don't you think?
Yeah, they actually kind of become that, which I didn't expect at all. But suddenly it starts to circle around them more than, I mean, in all honesty, the Wolves, guitar, drum, and bass Wolf, are actually more side characters in a way than main. I mean, we do visit them and they do play a part, but they're more like accessory. You know, they're like this component, this plot driving component more so than the main focus of the film, which surprised me as well. Because
did you want them to be the main component? Do you think this would be a better movie if they were the primary focus, or would it get tiresome?
No, I think it would get tiresome because their characters are just so up there and elevated and wild and just so, out there, that I think getting them in smaller batches works a lot more because they add just enough zaniness, or whatever word you want to use, energy at just the right times in the film. But if you had them all the time, it would be so gonzo that I think you'd lose your audience, in all honesty. We get them in nice doses, and as the film goes on, they accelerate and show up a little more, but still we get them in nice doses. Ace is kind of our grounded character outside of all these outrageous people that are around him.
Yeah, he's like the everyman. He's basically us. Like when we were kids, we idolize a band or we get into somebody. At least, I mean, I can speak for, I don't know, when you were younger, like what was the one thing music wise that you thought was so fucking cool? Like what was it, Mark?
Well, I mean, there was Weird Al, but for me, Beastie Boys, License to Ill. I didn't see him in concert. I couldn't. I was too young, but I listened to that album. So I still listen to that album continuously. And I like the other Beastie Boys stuff as well. But I mean, like that album, that song, that music right there, I listened all the time.
So obviously when you listen to that, you probably had preconceived notions as to what these people were like and who they were, and that they were, that they were pretty fucking cool people, like people you wanted to emulate and be like and hang around with, right?
I wanted to hang around with or see them. I mean, because back in the day when you didn't have this damn social media, you only got how their concerts were by word of mouth
or on MTV.
Or MTV or news article. Yeah, you got to see them on MTV. I mean, their ballad "Fight for Your Right to Party." Holy shit, that was like your anthem when you were young. You're like, yeah, and the lyrics and everything about it was just, that was like, you wanted to party, even though you're like, 8, you wanted to hang out with the Beastie Boys, God damn it.
Right.
And, or 10, whatever age it was like, these guys were just cool. They just did wild and crazy and naughty shit. And these are the guys, it was like, yeah, your brain would go off on how the concerts were just from the little bits and pieces you were allowed to read about them. So yeah, I mean, it was that you become that obsessed. I mean, crepes, when I moved, the girl next door to us was obsessed with New Kids on the Block. I mean, oh my God, obsessed, I mean, so when you're that young age, you find a band that clicks with you or whatever, you just, that is your embodiment. And that's what Ace is. Ace is that youthful embodiment of pure obsessed fandom for a single band or performer. That's what he is.
Well, and that's also, that's a good analogy for how Guitar Wolf is shown in here, because obviously pre-internet days, bands could mold their image in a way that you didn't get overwhelmed by them. So there was a mystique there. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much that is a thing anymore. I don't think bands can have mystiques anymore because social media kind of eliminates all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
No matter how hard, a band tries to try and hold that. Like, I think the only band that was out there in the mainstream that attempted that was Ghost for a while. And obviously, eventually that's got to come crashing down. So I just think we live in an era where that kind of shit just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and the fact is, it's not just that it doesn't happen. It's the culture doesn't allow it to happen, because in order for them to be popular, they have to be on social media now. They have to be accessible in some way, even if it's through some moderator or a third party. They have to be in some way accessible so people can see, the behind the scenes. Instagram. Look, so-and-so is showing a behind the scenes of them practicing. People, you need that because there is so much. And I think it's because there's so much out there now, and you have access to so much that if you don't, you're going to lose the younger audience. You're going to lose them because they're going to find someone who does do that. Mystique, like you said, is kind of lost, when back then that was their plus. That was what they hinged on. Who
knows, man? What do we know? We're fucking old timers.
What the fuck do I know?
Like we have our fingers on the pulse of anything other than fucking.
I got my finger on my.
Not that old yet, but
I got my finger on my own pulse. So there you go.
Well, obviously we heard your trigger finger is pretty quick right now.
It is.
But no, that's kind of like the whole point of this is like Ace is definitely our avatar in the movie. So anybody, I don't know, I can't speak for women, but for young dudes that are super into rock and roll, this is them. Great. Yeah. You got that one band you totally are fucking into and you're obsessed with, you'll do anything for, and Guitar Wolf shows up just enough in this movie that every single time they show up, it's fucking cool.
It's just badass.
You expect something fucking cool to happen.
Yeah. When they are on screen, some kind of shit's gonna go down, and it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be out there, and they deliver every time they show up.
So we have talked in the past about, zombie movies and being a little sick and tired of them. Now, this probably is the first zombie movie I've watched in a while, and it's a movie I've seen before. What did you think about this as a zombie movie?
I thought it was an element. I wouldn't say that this is a full zombie movie, which I liked. I mean, because the zombies show up, but they're actually kind of a tool to a bigger thing that's going on that you probably don't expect the resolution to play out like it does. But I thought it was all right as a zombie film. The zombies were really secondary in this film. I mean, they show up, but on the whole, it's not like a Night of the Living Dead that, where they are an integral part. Here, they're just one of many obstacles because you've got the zombies, you've got the flying saucers, you've got a crazy Yakuza boss guy. You got all these different elements in here that I dug it. I didn't tire of it because you get the zombies in spurts and bursts. And there's so much other wild stuff going on that it didn't distract me from it or go, here we go, zombies. It's just like, okay. And most of the characters in the film are like that. They're like, zombies. Okay.
Yeah, they really don't pose much of a threat at all unless you're just so lazy that you forget that they're there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's why it always surprised me watching this. There's that one scene where Ace is just kind of like lazily driving down a desert road, kind of just like going back and forth, not really paying attention. Then he sees a van on the side of the road and he stops, parks his bike, and walks around it, and there's just a family being eaten by zombies. Like, how the fuck did that family even get eaten by the zombies when the zombies barely move? Like, what did they do? Are they that dumb? Because the zombies are in the worst blue-green cake makeup. It's obvious something is wrong with them.
Yeah, I have no idea how that occurred, if one of their family members got, or whatever. Who knows?
They were a squad on the side of the road and in the middle of the desert, and zombies just miraculously show up, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is the zombie, there's no like buildup. I mean, you barely even remember after a few minutes that there's this meteor thing that aren't actually meteors, that are spaceships, and that kind of fades away for a while. And then these things just show up, and suddenly we go from like a few zombies to like the entire town. Like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, that escalated fairly quick.
Yeah, well, this is definitely one of those movies where it presupposes you know what a zombie movie is.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to go through the paces of people, you know, having to board themselves up and having it cuts that shit out. Nobody's afraid of traveling around in this movie. There's running constantly. It's mostly outdoors.
Yeah,
which is totally against all zombie cliches.
Well, even when it's indoors, it's in this huge warehouse full of weapons.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those other characters there in this movie. So we've talked about Ace. We've talked about his transgender love interest, which at first, you know, obviously he's a little timid about, but then Guitar Wolf in pure, I mean, he is kind of like his Yoda character.
He is.
Where whenever Ace is having a problem, he has visions of Guitar Wolf, and all Guitar Wolf basically says is, rock and roll! That's all he says. I mean, that's all. It's just like anytime Ace is in trouble, remember, rock and roll, baby! And that's it. But so anyways, we have those are the main characters we've already talked about. We had this secondary group that we're supposed to kind of which were the people that tried to rob the gas station. There's a couple there that the guy's kind of a fucking jackass.
Yep.
And the girlfriend really wants nothing to do with them, but they obviously love each other and they're down on their luck. They almost become a secondary, like, side story that becomes oddly cute towards the end of the movie.
In a grotesque zombie way. Yes. Yeah, it does become kind of cute. I mean, that they have this kind of romanticized. So you think the love interest thing, you're going to explore it with Ace and Tobio. You think that's going to be like the main interest we explore, but we actually explore more of these other two, Toshi and Hanako, I think it is. You explore more of them actually than the relationship between Ace and his love interest. So
yeah, well, Ace and Tobio are separated most of the movie. So the whole movie is basically, you know, Ace is conflicted about, you know, he's grown up with heteronormative ideas of what love can be, and Guitar Wolf, you know, he's trying to force it out of his mind with the power of rock and roll. Bring him over to the rock and roll side, because rock and roll means that love has no boundaries. And then we have that's the thing about this movie, when it deals with its sexuality, it's very fluid in a way that if you had watched some of Takashi Miike's movies, very fluid with sexuality, even though some of it's rather aggressive and kind of rapey, which is reminiscent of the Pinky films and stuff like that. This movie is much more lighthearted, much more open about sexuality. We have straight couples, we have gay couples, we have gender fluid people, not just the love interest. I think the big bad is also supposed to be presented as, I don't think he's supposed to be queer, but he's definitely a gender flexible character.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't wear shorts like that.
It looked like he had a fucking cone in his pants.
But his shorts that he wore were like these almost like Speedo type shorts that were laced on either side. So it's like stripper shorts almost in a way. And he wore a tight shirt and you weren't quite sure. Yeah, he was definitely meant to be kind of a gender fluid character, the way he's just a person. That's the thing, is everyone in here is just a person. Never once do I actually remember anyone like with their appearance or how they were. You don't really get any dialogue in here slamming the identities themselves of the characters.
Nope.
At any time, which you wouldn't, the way they're outrageous, you would think at least you'd get the one person talk to them about, oh, you freaky band members or whatever. Not at one point do any of these outrageous characters are insults thrown that are specifically personal and directed towards their character.
Nope. Never in this movie. The only time that you even remotely see anything like that is between the couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually become zombies toward the end and fall in love as zombies, because he's kind of a wormy character and she loves him, but also isn't 100% with how wormy he is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one scene where she basically tells him, oh, you are such a fucking waste, blah, 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 blah. But that's just like typical bickering with a couple that they love each other, but don't necessarily agree with everything that each other does.
Well, and the impression you get with the dialogue, the way it is too, is when I say personal insults, this is a conversation and insults that they've hurled at each other before.
Right. This isn't mean-spirited in any way. Nothing in this movie is mean-spirited.
No, she's called him these words before. He's acted this way before. This is not anything new to this couple. This isn't like out of the blue and meant to hurt them. This is more, lovingly argue, if you will. They're protesting. She threatens to leave or what. You know that it's not going to be that way, the way they're actually acting towards each other. It's just that type of couple, relationship they have. But yeah, it's not mean. It's not actually mean-spirited. This is something that this banter is normal. In fact, Masao, their guy with the butterfly knives, you could tell they've gone through this before, because he looks like he just wants to run away.
Yep. He's kind of a weenie.
He's that third wheel that's just like, oh my God, there they go again.
Right.
So yeah, but none of the characters in here you feel are really being judged by who they particularly are.
Right. Which at a time where that just wasn't normal, most times, especially in Western cinema, you couldn't have a gay character be a strong individual. It always was comic relief. They always were one of the first ones that were killed. They are always the outsider. They're always the other. And I think a lot of like the point of this movie was to break that down. Because of course, Ace is conflicted about how he feels about Tobio at first. But by the end of the movie, that's been completely washed away and broken down. So that is the most explicit statement about sexuality in this movie. But you're right. I guess I never really thought about that watching this movie. I've seen this movie a ton. I've watched it over the years. I mean, it's over 20 years old at this point. I've never even thought of that really this is a very open-armed, positive movie towards the outsiders of culture.
Yeah. Not just sexual, just people in general, the outsider people in general. I mean, you got your arms dealer who she's actually a very strong female character. But the way she presented, it's not like, ooh, look at us having a strong female character at any one point. She just is the way she is, but she is an outsider as well. And even when we get her nude scene, yes, it's got a few exploitive, elements to it. But at the same time, the way it's handled is definitely not what you might expect with her.
No, they don't linger on any of it. It's just matter of fact, and it cuts in and it cuts out, and that's it. For a shower sequence, it's very short.
Well, and especially for a shower sequence with a film that's in basically a category that has a reputation for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You could easily mistake this for the same energy of like an Ichi the Killer.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has a lot of the same kind of beats, not in content, but the way the film is constructed.
Yeah.
It's just relentless. There's no breathing to anything that's going on in this thing. Dead or Alive has those moments as well.
Mhm.
You remember that fucking thing?
Oh, yeah.
It has that same breathless, constant forward momentum feeling. Now, there is a section in this movie that kind of slows down a little bit.
A little bit. That's basically the armory section slows down a little, I think. And then I think later on it does. You're right. There are a little bit of slow, but even there, things are still moving forward as far as the plot. And we don't have anybody reflecting or sitting and going,
Nope.
I remember before the zombies came. That was 5 o'clock.
The closest thing we come to a Night of the Living Dead bickering sequence is in that armory where all of our characters that we've been watching on their own separate side stories and missions all of a sudden come together. And they're in that warehouse with all the weaponry because the female badass of the movie, who is essentially like female Arnold Schwarzenegger of the movie.
Yeah, she is.
She basically, is just like, this is where we got to be if we're going to survive this situation. And Guitar was like, fuck this. I don't get holed up in any bunker. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. Because little did we know he had a fucking electric samurai sword inside of his guitar that he's constantly wearing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't know that. And the guitar was definitely his more concern. What I dug about the military woman, too, is the badass is she walks around most of the film with this collared unitard.
What was up with all the short shorts in this fucking movie?
I don't know.
Like, we're talking shorts that if they sneezed, genitals were flying out of those fucking things.
Right? She's walking around in this like unitard with a collar that if you look from the waist up, it looks like almost like a dressy type of top. And then you get to the bottom and it's basically it's like a leotard type thing. You get your boss guy who changes clothes into these short shorts before he goes on the rampage with his guns.
He changes his wig and he changes his shorts for another pair of short shorts. He's like in onesies the entire fucking movie. Yeah,
the wardrobe for this as well was just crazy, but it fit their characters. I mean, this world, they don't spend a lot of time building like any backstory or filling you in, but at the same time, the way these characters are presented, what they're doing and what they have feels natural. But by the time you get halfway through the film, you're not really questioning the fact that Guitar Wolf pulls out a pick and he makes it rain with electronic picks that shoot out and hit all the zombies in the head. You're just like, oh, okay.
Of course this is happening right now.
Sure. All right. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I love about this movie. This is one of those movies where you put it on, just like this is a reason why I love a lot of Trauma. They're the kind of movie you don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
They're the kind of movie you put on. As Trauma is, we find out when we actually watch Trauma and think about what they're talking about inside of some of those movies, especially the Lloyd Kaufman ones. There's something going on underneath the movie, but for the most part, you could enjoy it as a purely superficial, surface level kind of turn your brain off gonzo experience.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about the gonzo. There's the final act of this film, which you get all these things in bursts, and I thought it was interesting that you get kind of fade outs in between for Wild Zero. And then you get this third act where everything kind of comes together. And the boss man, he suddenly can shoot shit out of his eyes.
Isn't one of the flying saucers shoot him? And then all of a sudden he gains all these magical powers.
Yeah, he's got magical powers. He's got electricity. He shoots stuff from his eyes. Best part of this fight with the main boss is Guitar Wolf has a weapon, but he's most concerned about his guitar being in tune.
Because he pops here and there, and I guess his battle cry, other than howling at the moon, is strumming his fucking Gibson SG once. It's like,
but he does it, and then he takes cover, and instead of reloading his weapon, He's tuning his guitar. and then he gets to the roof of this building. We see flying saucers suddenly flying everywhere. And you think, oh no, what's going to happen to Guitar Wolf? And he pulls out this sword that apparently he's had the whole time in his guitar.
In the neck of his guitar.
In the neck of his guitar. And he just holds it up and starts slicing flying saucers in half.
It's fucking beautiful.
Because why not?
Mark, you forget earlier in the movie, in one of the many concerts that Guitar Wolf is in, there's multiple sequences of Guitar Wolf playing at musical venues in this movie. There's one in which every time he sings, his microphone shoots fire out of it.
Oh my God, that was so badass. I'm like, fire shooting out microphone. Okay, I've not seen that. Or at another venue, every time he sings, there's an electrical arc on the stage for whatever reason.
It's so fucking cool. I fucking love this movie so goddamn much. So yeah, it goes crazy. Of course, by the end, we're not ruining anything for you if you haven't seen this movie. Trust me, we could describe every goddamn last thing in detail. And when you watch it, it's going to be fresh and new to you because that's just the kind of movie it is. Of course, love wins over, and the movie ends with Guitar Wolf riding off in the fucking sunset.
Yeah.
So now that you've seen this, Mark, after 20 years of it not being in your life, are you happy that it's finally in your life?
Absolutely. I love movies like this. Like I said, where I watched a movie on the big screen tonight where it tries to be silly fun, but also it didn't fully commit. This fully commits. And I love films, even if they're films that I think maybe aren't the best. This is not one of them. I love this film. At least commits. I love seeing a film when it takes some crazy, silly, just wild concept and it fully commits. It goes all in. I love that. And this film does that. It doesn't hold back. It's like they didn't have anyone at any time going, maybe we shouldn't do that.
There's not one fuck given. Nobody. Yeah. That is the perfect way to put this. This is a movie where every last idea that got thrown out there is in the movie.
They looked at their budget. They looked at their budget and go, "Yeah, we got enough for that. Let's go.
Let's do it. Absolutely, let's do it." So, it is a really stupid movie. I mean, let's be honest. It's a really fucking stupid movie.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fully not saying this is in-depth cinema by any means. No, it is completely dumb and ridiculous, but it is entertaining from start to finish. This film just is entertaining throughout because they came up with this idea and they just carried through with it.
And surprisingly, it's like an hour and 40 minutes long and it doesn't feel dull at all.
No, does this film moves. You're like, holy crap. It's like they pack a lot in there and you won't be checking the time at all. In fact, you'll be going, wait, I want to see more. What happens next?
Do you think you'll be watching this ever again?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not right away, but it's definitely one that I'll put in again to watch, especially if I find someone who hasn't watched it. I'll be like, oh, yeah, no, sit down.
This is a fucking party movie if there ever was a fucking party movie.
It is.
This is fucking punk rock and rock and roll, the movie. That's essentially all it is. If you're into cult and exploitation cinema, if you're open-minded about sexual themes, if you're just into really cool fucking music, god damn, this is the movie for you. It's got zombies, it's got exploding head, there's tons of gore, there's great music. It's just fun. You like laughing? This is your movie. If you like absurd Japanese cinema, there's no reason why you shouldn't watch Wild Zero. There's a bunch of people. I'm like, I look at the Letterboxd reviews for this thing, and it's not super glowing. Like, it's either you really love this fucking movie or it just doesn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, if you're one of these people who hate rockabillys, If there's something about rockabillys, and let's be honest, there are a lot of really shitty asshole rockabillys out there. A lot of shitty asshole racist rockabillys out there. I get it. If they ruin everything about rockabilly music and culture for you, I get it. And I don't blame you for it. I've met and known a few of them myself. Please, though, everything that I like about it is in this movie. It's awesome. You should watch this. But if you, it's either going to be you like that kind of aesthetic or you don't like that kind of aesthetic. You either like stupid, silly zombie movies or you don't like stupid, silly zombie movies. You either have your dick in such a knot that you piss out your asshole or you're regular. It's just one of those fucking movies. You're either going to get it or you're not going to get it. So, I mean, I give it the highest recommendation I can. I've watched this movie so many goddamn times. I love this movie to death. So, Mark, thank you for humoring me and watching fucking Wild Zero out of nowhere because this episode came together very quickly.
Oh, no, I had a great time watching it. You know, it's not a film that would have exactly been on my radar ever, but because I heard it mentioned in circles, but I was like, okay, but getting to watch it for the show, it was a blast. I had a wild time with it. I was just shaking my head the whole time. And just when you thought, oh, yeah, okay. And then you're just like, oh, we went there. Okay. You know,
it's how it should fucking be. Mark, you got any parting words, anything you want to show on this show before we ride off in the sunset and scream rock and roll?
If they're ever curious, they can go to specialmarkproductions.com for all their Movie Man needs. I got links to all my shit there if they're at all interested. I got a thing that I'm being a part of this weekend that might get us some more activities, so that's going to be kind of interesting. The creepy channel crawl thing, but which I got links for as well on my page. So yeah, just go there if you're at all interested. This is always fun getting to talk movies with you, Derek. So thanks for having me on as always.
Well, of course, this is more bullshitting with us choosing a movie as the backdrop. That's essentially all this fucking is.
Oh, yeah.
Mark, say goodbye to everybody.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
All right, boys, girls, rock and roll!
And you're listening to Astro Radio Z.
We are Astro Radio Z.
Fighting, the killing, the maiming, the Agent Orange and napalm, the torture cages. They were the easy part of combat shock. Meet Frankie Dunlop, decorated war hero, ex-prisoner of war. But when he returned home, nothing had prepared him for the nightmare that would follow. Combat shock.
What do you want, a broken arm? Yeah, let's break his arm.
He found society had turned against him. His job was gone.
Doesn't look any better, sir, Frankie. There's nothing here for you. They want experience. You don't have the skill.
The chemical warfare that had poisoned Vietnam was now poisoning his family.
Hey, just shut up. You knew what it was like out there. You knew what you were exposed to. You didn't tell me.
His childhood friend had become a desperate junkie. And the sweet little girl next door was being forced to sell her body in the gutter.
He missed you on date?
That's no way to behave.
Combat shock. Ow! Frankie tried to stand up to the scum.
Any idea what you're doing to that kid? Hey, get the fuck out of here, man. Hey, you leave my wife out of this.
But he found that life in the streets was more treacherous than the jungles of Vietnam.
Go stuff my ass.
Shut up, bitch. What are you trying to do, Mike? Then your crimes on me?
Combat shock. It followed him everywhere. Combat shock. Was it a nightmare or a reality? The battlefield may have changed, but the war was still on. Combat shock. More action than Rambo. More terror than the Terminator.
I love you.
More gut-wrenching violence than Commando. Combat shock. An explosive film you'll never forget. Combat shock.
You are listening to Astro Radio Z.
Spirits of the Dead by Edgar Allan Poe. Thy soul shall find itself alone mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone, not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude, which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still. The night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven, with light like hope to mortals given, but their red orbs, without beam, to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish, now our visions ne'er to vanish. From thy spirit shall they pass no more, like dewdrop from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries.
Life! Astro Radio Z.
Oh, the dumps in June ain't like perfume deep in the heart of Jersey, but it's my state. I think it's great deep in the heart of Jersey. Well, we got it.
Hello, folks. Vaughn here for another Pink Theater, courtesy of Astro Radio Z. How's everybody doing? Tonight, we're going to talk a little doozy from 1973 called the Hell-Fated Contessa. I couldn't find a trailer, so we're going to play a clip from the film. Enjoy. So the quick and dirty of the piece of audio I just played for you is pretty much explaining Osen's, our main character played by Ria Nakawaya, backstory and why she is where she is. The quick and dirty of that is that at one time she was a very famous Contessa, but circumstances, preferably 3 Johns she's had, all died from unrelated illnesses or issues after having sex with her. So that's kind of marked her as a death goddess. She's a very beautiful woman, and you have, within the sex scenes you actually get between her and some of the Johns, they are very kind of, you know, not hesitant to talk about her beauty, but as they kind of get in there deep, I guess you can say, they realize how magnificent her body is. You know what I mean? Like, her skin feels like silk, and she's warm to the touch in certain areas. And the fact that she is able to, her vagina kind of engulfs the man with a pleasure that has never been felt before by the men that she accompanies. So we're stuck with this poor woman in this small period of time. The film's only 76 minutes, and we're back to Nakatsu Roman porno. So there's a kind of a viciousness to these films, unlike the pinky violence films of the Toei time period, same time period. Which the thing with Toei is that they kind of mix the violence within the sex. In the Roman porno films, the violence can also kind of cohere or adhere, kind of happen during the sex, like a lot of like forced sexual sequences and stuff like that. In the kind of the pinky violence, it seems like the sex is the kind of catalyst for violence. Anyway, so we're stuck with Osen, and we kind of deal with her life, her from being paid for by a sadistic painter, who we get a very wild scene with her holding a fish, and then she, lets the fish suck on her nipples and go down on her, to as she's walking home after her alleged, session with the painter. The painter has 3 men kidnap her, tie her up in a cemetery and rape her, and a man that she felt that she could trust was paid very wealthily to rape her as well, as the painter paints and draws the incident. We come across a bunch of men. The thing with her is that because she was a Contessa, her skin is a certain feel. Some men refer to it as silk, especially down in her lady regions. And the warmth that comes off her breasts, and the warmth that comes off of her, her as it engulfs them within their sexual pleasures, And the fact that she doesn't really have to do anything, it just feels so right. You know what I mean? The one thing I always love about these films is that even though the sex at times comes off as gross, the relating to it and kind of describing it is kind of the way that sex should feel, I guess you can say. You know what I mean? That kind of weird, perverted way. It should feel really good, and you should have a real good time with it. And you know, insertion and whatnot should feel something wonderful, right? Especially and they're not raping her; they're paying her for her time. So you can see that these men are kind of inherently drunk or inebriated, but once they kind of get in there and they start actually having sex with her, you can see the overwhelming pleasure that they enjoy from doing it. The problem is that when people know, everyone knows why she's marked and what has happened, but these men still risk it. Risking death to kind of be with someone who is so not virginal, but so elegant, I guess you can say is the right word for that. She comes across a young man who is a puppeteer and a puppet maker who kind of falls for her. Doesn't pay to have sex with her, ultimately pays to have sex with her, but kind of pops his cherry with her and falls deeply in love with her and wants her to run away with him to Osaka. And she's kind of she has kind of this thing where she doesn't feel that, it would be her chance to get on and move on with her life and kind of get away from this stigma of this death goddess term that she's being bandied about. The more interesting part I like about it is that the bosses of the brothel are just these kind of two little goons who are very kind of meek and really don't have the balls to stand up for anybody. The women in this film are very road weary and street smart, and they take on everybody. And the great thing is, even though there's some women who don't particularly like each other, and they don't particularly like Osen as well, they all kind of rally around each other, and because that's what they have to do. They have to kind of fight to survive, and if one of them gets hurt, they all get hurt, and that's in a certain sort of way. There are some unique scenes. Like I said, there's a scene with the painter where Osen is holding a fish in her hand, and then she slowly rubs the fish up against her tits and lets the fish nibble on her breast. And then she slowly pushes it down near her crotch and shoves the fish into her nether region, and has a beautiful orgasm to it, which is bizarre as hell. There is a scene with the doll maker where he just wants her to be his doll, and in through the sex scene, we get this elaborate dance number where he is dressed in his doll kind of like gimmick, I guess, because he is, I guess, Japanese doll kind of puppetry is these kind of bigger dolls where the puppeteer stands there pretty much out in the open in all black with a black face mask on, so the people, it's kind of gives the what's the word, the appeal that no one's there and that you're just watching these two puppets kind of roam around and do their thing. And we have him in his puppetry kind of costume behind her doing this very elaborate dance with her while they're having sex. Like, it's kind of cut into it. And like, that's why I was kind of trying to say that this is a very kind of more of an art house film than a straight sexploitation film. I enjoy the hell out of it. I think it's a really cool, really interesting film that kind of really works on kind of extending and expanding the concept of the Pink film. And it's great when they give a small director like this, whose other films, excluding Watcher in the Attic, which is kind of it's a Rampo adaptation, are kind of more straightforward, kind of, the sex freak, kind of not comedies. These films are never comedic. But men and women kind of an intercourse, kind of having madness with an overlying storyline, right? In this film, you get dealt with this kind of ill-fated character, taking quip from the title, who is kind of set in her ways, and she doesn't really want to leave. She feels like she has rather where she goes, she's always going to have the stigma of killing men with her sex appeal. But you have this young man who's obsessed with her and loves her, and wants her to leave with him, and she just waits too long. And I know I'm giving away the end of the film, but there's other couple of things going on. There's a scene with there's an ill-fated double suicide, where the two people who kind of tried and failed are stuck in the middle of town to kind of be mocked by the rest of the townsfolk, and you find that the doll maker may have been sexually, or at least romantically inclined with the woman of the two of these people, and the fact that the man now who is part of this alleged botched double suicide doesn't particularly want to be with this woman anymore, and it's pretty fucking weird. You have them both of them tied up in the middle of the square being mocked by everyone. Osen has this one character who she feels has a kind heart, but then is paid by the painter to rape her, so he can create more art, and this completely breaks her spirit of the man. Later he dies, not because of having sex with her, maybe because he kicked her in the balls, or he was attacked and stabbed in the gut, and he comes back as a ghost and terrorizes all the girls within the brothel. And I'm just kind of giving you these vague attempts because it's definitely a film worth seeing. I don't know if it was ever released. The copy I have is a good copy, but like the problem with these films is like the scarcity and the kind of trying to find any information about it is hard. Even the Lincoln Center description I found, because I guess they did maybe a Roman porno kind of pinky violence, season one time. I don't know. I know that the Lincoln Center does work with the Asian Cinema Society in New York, and they do show some very strange shit because it's very much about kind of showing the cinema of Japan and the cinema of the Asian world. And sometimes you have to kind of delve into the more darker sections. And their description is completely wrong, and that's the same description that's on the IMDb kind of quick synopsis. But yeah, it's a cool film that I think more people need to see. I don't know what else to say. Thank you, Derek, for letting me continue to do these. And I hope all is well with everyone who's listening. If you'd like to listen to more of this bullshit, you can always check out motionpicturemassacre.wordpress.com.
That's it for this episode of Astro Radio Z, folks. Thank you for making 2021 another great year of Astro Radio Z. I hope you all have a great holidays, and I'll catch you in 2022. Adios.